Barber. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies to which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Riverdale Regional Board of Education has caused notice of this regular meeting to be publicized by having the date, time, and place thereof sent to the Record, Town News, and/or Star Ledger newspapers, the constituent borough clerks and borough libraries, as well as posting in the school district's principal's offices, faculty rooms, and board office. According to New Jersey Public Law 2001, Chapter 226, the smoking of tobacco is strictly prohibited anywhere in public school buildings or anywhere in school grounds, including but not limited to parking lots, grassy areas, and athletic fields. Violators will be subject to a fine not to exceed $100. Roll call. Claudia?
Here.
Patrick?
Here.
Al?
Here.
Doug?
Here.
Tony?
Here.
Barbara? Yeah, she's here. Stephanie?
Here.
Alan?
Here.
And Joe? Here. Also, Matt?
Here.
Robert?
Here.
And Carrie?
Here.
And Barbara is present. Claudia, would you mind reading the mission statement, please?
Sure. The mission of the Riverdale Regional School District is to provide a safe, student-centered environment in which each student is valued and respected, to challenge each student to reach his or her potential, to nurture every student's intellectual, social, physical, and emotional growth, to promote a healthy work ethic, a passion for learning, and respect for oneself and others, to develop responsible citizens for our diverse community and ever-changing world, to continue to involve our community in an active partnership, and to provide all students the opportunity to achieve and exceed the Common Core standards and the New Jersey Core Curriculum Content Standards.
And now, if there are any public comments on the agenda items only, and that does include you folks behind the cameras if you want, okay? Seeing as there are none, student member report.
This past weekend, Fiddler on the Roof was held here at the high school on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The all-county dinner for winter sports is tomorrow night at the Fiesta, and there's open mic Wednesdays at lunch in the media room.
Spring sports are now in full swing, and a lot of sports are having their first scrimmages and games, such as lacrosse, softball, and track, coming up. Also, we have to give a shout out to Twerd for a good performance this week with Life Coach, Mythbusters, and Everyday Task Pumped Up. I'm not sure what that is. And also, the Business Club are selling custom phone cases as a fundraiser the past few days.
So upcoming for any students taking forensics is the ballistic field trip to the River Edge fire range. And Spirit Week is this week, so today was Pajama Day, tomorrow was Black and Gold, and then we go right into March Madness and Scavenger Hunt. And then Marching Band is currently preparing for a Memorial Day performance. And that is the end.
That is the end. Sure, you can ask a question.
What do they do with the firing range?
We're examining how different weapons fire, and then looking at like what marks they leave on different surfaces. Yes, like projectiles.
Science behind it.
Like caliber, like how they look different, what like remains they may leave.
And who's firing the weapon?
I think
Not the kids.
Sergeant.
Thanks.
Sergeant
Okay.
Glass.
Thanks. That's really where I was going with that. I'm like, and how are we? One of the officers.
Yeah, I think
or two of
Sergeant
the.
Staros.
Thank you.
And just, we had a special permission slip drawn up just for those students who are attending that.
Okay.
My child's not going to shoot again?
No, to be specific about the activities that are involved and whose responsibilities are where.
Okay.
Okay. Well, brings up my report. Fiddler on the Roof not only was, I was there for Saturday's performance, it was so good, I went back for Saturday night's performance. It was very good. You know what, between the students who were acting in the play, the lighting, the stage crew, everybody was fantastic. And a little shout out to Ms. Burr, who directed it. As students said, you know, winter sports, seemed like last week that there was nothing but the Riverdale students in there for all the different sports and all too, but I guess just one shout out to Coach Mike Urso for being Coach of the Year for indoor track. And there's just, I hate to say it, there's just too many students who were honors that they're too numerous to actually say now. One thing I want to mention too, and possibly get some board input on it, the delegate assembly for school boards is Saturday, May 16th down in West Windsor. I don't know if anybody's capable of going there, but, or has the desire to, but hopefully between now and next meeting, we can have somebody go down there. If not, I will. Okay. Also, a few of us we were well represented on the March 24th Bergen County School Board's meeting in New Milford. My own personal note, I was a little disappointed in the dignitaries who were supposed to be there to speak.
I was just gonna
I
say.
said, well, okay. Or the lack thereof.
Yeah.
In there, but you know what, it was a nice meeting. I don't know if anybody who was there, Al, Claudia, Steph, if you have anything to add to that, I mean, the meeting was a
I think
little.
when the aides have to leave before, you know, they even get to the part where the board members can express their views, it's, you know, and you know how I felt about the one person who did express their views. But it was nice to like see other board members, and actually I met a gentleman from Fairlawn who happens to SAT tutor prep some of our, he said, oh, Riverdale, you know, so it was nice to, you know, see other people from other boards and have a conversation and dine with you and Al.
It's also nice to hear like other schools, you know, you always think like you live in a bubble, like, you know, that you're going through this and it's just your school. It is nice to hear. There was a lot of repetition about Park that was discussed, you know, loss of money to us. So like those type of things where, you know, you look at it as usually like we're in our bubble and we deal with this, knowing that everybody else does. But it was kind of interesting to bring some different lights of conversation to like the main focus for everybody. They talked about how Pearson hired a company to do evaluations and check on kids' social media, so that came up, and that brought a lot of discussion.
Yep.
And something that, like, you know, we may have heard of individually from reading the newspaper, but nothing from here, but other districts were experiencing it, so it was kind of interesting.
Al, anything to add? Because I know you were there as well.
Yeah, no, it's just the one point that I took away from the meeting was what we were discussing before, about Christie's cap on superintendent's pay. He feels that that will not be changed until Christie leaves office. So we'll see what happens with that.
And then also I was able to attend March 28th, Saturday morning. They had the first ever Bergen County was a president's meeting at Roosevelt School. It was nice to see that the three districts in our two towns were all represented. What was also nice, what Claudia said, it was nice to hear from other members, and all too, what they're trying to do is there is a superintendent's group, BAs have a group, and all too, that in Bergen County, that there was no group for board leadership. One of the things they talked about too was having both presidents and vice presidents going forward at these type of meetings. It was, well, one thing I brought out of that, which I mentioned earlier, was a board member from TNEC commended our district on the special ed thing, because they have a student comes here and was very, very complimentary of our special ed. And just that is finding out too, I got to find out that, you know, Ridgewood was definitely the poster child for the opt-out for the park. I don't know if they said, hey, look at us, but she mentioned it at least 2 or 3 times. And I think it'll be a good thing moving forward is getting that viewpoint from what other schools are doing, to kind of get in not necessarily what's reported in the news, but kind of maybe some of the background as well. on some of the decisions that are made in other districts. So also was able to attend, the middle school had a young gentleman who's 18 now, but at age 15, helped develop a test for early detection of cancer. I want to say it was pancreatic cancer. I don't think I've ever heard anybody speak so quickly in my life. Young guy, maybe because he's nervous, but he's been on a book tour. His name is Jack Andraka. Wrote a book called Breakthrough. The thing that I thought was fantastic was the questions from the students. I know some of them, you think about 7th and 8th graders, some of the questions and all too, like, well, you got a pet and all too, but they were really, you could see that they were engaged. And one of the things that I really liked what he had to say and all too was, it's not necessarily about science, but if you have a passion. This kid had a passion because he lost a family member. He was always, matter of fact, he's on the, FBI watch list.
Yeah.
Because of some experiments he and his brother had done and all too. He says, about 6-foot craters in the backyard. I wanted to hear more about that. We talk about the guns and all to us. I wanted to hear more about that, but that's not what he was there for. But he had a passion for learning and really kind of try to impress that upon the kids, that whatever your passion is you go after it. And he did speak about bullying a little bit when he was younger because he was the science geek, getting a little bit of it and all too. And he basically just kind of said, you know what, screw you guys and all too. I'm going to go back and do what I want to do. And now he's an author and all around good kid from what I saw, sitting in the balcony watching this. So, and one other thing I wanted to bring up because it's relatively new, but it's kind of the second time in school history. Today at the girls lacrosse game, Gabby Davidson scored her 100th goal and is only the second person in school history to have amassed 100 goals. So congratulations to Gabby. And that concludes my report.
Jim?
Yep.
With regard to committee reports, if I may share one item regarding the Budget and Finance Committee, we were advised that upon a review by the county superintendent and staff, that the district's preliminary budget was approved by the NJDOE. So that was done, and I don't know, Tom, if you need to add anything to that or not, I don't know.
Aside from some very, very minor changes, but hey, which none of them was financial, it went rather smoothly.
Thank you.
Patrick?
Well, since everybody mentioned every item that I had on my report, I just wanted to emphasize a couple of things, and then put one of our students on student liaisons on
Defensive?
on edge. Yeah. I also had the pleasure of being with the middle school for the Jack and Draca presentation. I had the pleasure of talking to him, his mother, and recognizing all the accomplishments that this kid made by the age of 17 years old. So I immediately left there, went home and cried because my parenting skills clearly were nowhere near where they should be. So well, you all know we had felt that way.
Wouldn't let Dana explode stuff.
Right, yeah, I wouldn't let my son blow things up. Fiddler on the Roof, I also was there, and you know, as someone in the room who probably has seen and been part of more high school musical productions than anyone else, I have to say that it was one of the best productions I have ever seen at a high school level. The students in character, particularly the leads, Sam Lobley and Madison Surian, I thought they were fantastic. The set was awesome. The whole thing, I think, was just, I was just completely blown away. I was really completely blown away, especially the way Sam inhabited the character of Tevye in that thing. It was unbelievable. And then to put our one of our students on edge, I've called out Rob before, I've called out Matt before, now I want to call out Carrie. I just, you know.
Carrie's like, I didn't do it.
No, she hasn't done anything.
Did we
but-
get that look on film?
No, she did do something. And she did do something, and I just wanted you to share, if you wouldn't mind, the experience that you had with the journalism camp that you, well, not camp, I know that's an
Oh, okay.
inappropriate thing to say because it minimizes it, but I thought, when I found out about that, I thought that was an absolutely wonderful experience, so if
Thank
you wouldn't mind
you.
sharing that.
In November, I was sponsored by the Bergen Record to spend 4 days up at Syracuse University at their Newhouse School of Communications, and I sat in on classes, and I had like a couple writing assignments, and I got to like meet a lot of the professors and the students there, and it was just kind of like I was with 15 other kids from Bergen County, and we just kind of got a taste of what it's like to study journalism in college.
And you got Syracuse in November. Oh,
Yeah, it snowed every
being up
day.
there, yeah, it's-
Right, and I think there were well over 1,000 students that had applied for that program, and you were one of 15 that was selected for it, so congratulations. That concludes my report. Wasn't so bad, right?
Okay, with that then, can I have a motion on the consent agenda?
No, but we're still moving forward, that other stuff, right?
We're gonna do that at the end, yeah. I'll do the consent, can I have a motion on the consent agenda items first? A second?
Second.
Discussion on any of the consent? Stephanie?
On 9, it has, this is the cheerleaders going to St. Jude's, which is great, but it has April 12th, 13th, with Maureen Keel as chaperone with no cost to the board. It should be cost to the substitute. Look, he's rolling his eyes at me.
I know.
I didn't pull it.
So would you like to add the,
The correct wording, he'll put the correct wording.
is everyone okay with that, is adding the wording except for substitute?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion on the consent agenda items? Tom, roll call, please.
Claudia?
Yeah.
Patrick?
Yes, but I'll abstain from item 7, board meeting minutes on the 23rd. I was absent that evening.
Al?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
And Joe?
Yes. I have a motion, excuse me, on Roman numeral item 10-1 in regards to the first reading of certain policies.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second?
Discussion on this. Stephanie's policy, do you want to, anything for the first readings?
Their first readings, and as everybody can see, the majority of the changes are more legal changes coming through. And especially, I think it's the long-range plan, that's the one that's like almost all new, correct? Yeah, which comes from the state. And the only real internal change is the change in 9130 that changes the committee reporting from a mandated written report to a verbal report, which doesn't preclude anybody if they're gonna be absent from a meeting or whatnot to deliver a written report. It's just changing it from a mandate of the, what do you call the exhibit?
Yep.
The mandate of the exhibit.
Can I ask a question? And it's not about like policy per se, but when we have mandated changes from the state, we have to accept every wording of it, or can we rearrange the wording ever? Or like, make it like a little bit more user-friendly and,
Yeah,
or
the
no?
answer
you're-
to those questions is yes, to all of them.
Okay,
Sometimes you have to take the wording because that's the way it's prescribed.
right,
Sometimes you can massage it to make it read differently or better.
okay.
But, so, all of the questions you just asked, the answer is yes. What are you more concerned
Administering
about?
medication,
Okay?
that one, it reads very poorly. Sorry.
Okay.
So before the second reading and all two, we can go.
Well,
It reads very, very poorly.
It would be
And
helpful if you pointed, you don't have to do it right now.
Oh,
but if you
okay, I'll
wanted to
show you
Point it out
everything.
to me what the issue was.
I'll show you everything.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Any other on Roman numeral 10-1? Tom, roll call?
Claudia?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Alan? And Joe?
Yes. Excuse me, which brings us to Roman numeral 11. For the superintendent, at the request of the board secretary, recommends that the board accept line item transfers and the adjustments as listed in the financial report for the month ending February 2015. Have a motion?
So moved.
Stephanie? Stephanie. Alan? Any discussion on the line item transfers? See as there's none. Tom?
Claudia?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Alan?
Yeah.
And Joe?
Yes. And at this time, we'd like to bring forward the executive items except for item Roman numeral 2-1. Every other item would be brought forward. Have a motion on that?
I'll make the motion.
Claudia, I have a second.
Doug's.
Doug, I'm sorry. Any discussion on the executive items brought forward then? All right, Tom, roll call, please.
Claudia?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
And Joe?
Yes.
Oh, can I
Would-
just say something? I'm sorry. We
Sure.
brought forward the person who will be leaving, is that correct?
Yes.
All
Yes.
items except for
Do you
the,
want to maybe just say that
well, let me, you know.
one of our person, do you want me to just do it?
I was, yeah, if you don't mind, I was just going back because I want to make sure I get the proper, the dates and everything. That's the only
One of
reason I'm-
our personnel in our math department, who's been here many years, Mrs. Afromsky, will be leaving us for personal reasons come May 1st, I believe the date
Yeah, that's
was.
what I was looking to
Correct.
see.
So
Yeah.
we certainly wish her well, and she will be missed.
And she will be part of our group of retirements and all too, so we'll make sure that there's recognition at that time as well. So, old business, I want to just bring up because I did mention being at a couple meetings. I had, like the Alan Nunziata, weekend, our board rep. Saw a lot, this past weekend. He did mention that because both Patrick and I had reached out to him and all too. We talked about having a board retreat. He was first of all looking at his schedule and all too, was gonna get back to Patrick and also try to provide us somewhat of a proposal of what that board retreat would look like. We did talk to him about, again, that it was, I appreciated the fact that he came in and talked about the strategic planning and that we weren't looking for the big version, the small version. We were looking more of a board retreat, but with having an emphasis on that. So Al's gonna get back in the next, hopefully within this week, before our next meeting and all too, so we could talk about that. And I also wanted to mention, Al also emailed me yesterday to let me know, and just as a little reminder, if you have not completed the CSA evaluation, if you could please do so. We're about a little more than 50%, so I don't want to let anybody know, but he did let me know who has and who hasn't. And actually, I will call somebody out. Tom, he did tell me that you're supposed to complete it as well as the board secretary. So
The board evaluation, you mean.
the board yeah.
There's two evaluations,
Yeah,
right?
That's,
That you're supposed to do the board evaluation as well. So
I don't think I evaluate the CSA. I think I do
the board evaluation.
Yes.
I'm sorry. That's because he kind of combined that in there, and I just want to make sure that that reminds you to do the board evaluation. The CSA, like I said, we have a little bit more than 50%, which is good considering it was just out a week ago. So, any other old business?
I think it was the last meeting that I brought up the sort of shrinkage of the art department and going to the play, the musical, I keep calling it, the musical, which was extraordinary. I've seen my fair share as well. It was extraordinary, and you could tell how much the kids put in. Looking at the sets that they built and the wood working that they did and whatnot, I just want to continue to reiterate that we should keep our minds open to possible expansion / alternatives to maybe what we offer that might be more appealing to our student body.
Any other old? Oh, I'm sorry.
I've mentioned this before, and I know we're probably at the time of year that this is going on with the high school, but our student reps are going to be leaving us in a couple of months, and then we're going to get new student reps, and I think I've asked this every year for the past couple of years, if we could possibly get some type of representation from the middle school every so often, because we focus on basically up here, and we kind of do neglect down there. Nothing against you guys. You guys are doing what you're supposed to do, and you do a wonderful job.
And you can always come back too.
Right. Don't worry about school. Just come here on Monday night, twice a month, because we're so much fun. But it would be nice if we could get some, I know they have the school ambassadors. Maybe they can come up every so often and do like a little song and dance for us.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any
Oh, yeah. Potholes in the back parking lot. Where the students park, in that area, there's these two really, really huge potholes. And for the past week, I've watched the same individual parent drive into these potholes.
Is that a parent issue or is that a pothole issue?
It's a pothole issue. I'm gonna say it's a pothole issue because I'm a parent and I get it too. It's not me. It's not me. I am not the one that does it. What?
Is that by the cafeteria or down on the lower level?
Oh, God.
By Miss Pulaski's room.
Yes, thank you very much. You've seen her,
Jerry
right?
did not run into it.
No.
Right there.
No, it's, all right, because I was gonna say, do you see the mother that does it for like all last week? Like nailed it every time, and her tire's gonna go, and she's gonna cause an accident.
Set up hubcaps.
No, she is, the parent's gonna she hits it every time.
Carrie, do you drive into that pothole?
No.
No. Oh, okay.
I always said you didn't.
You're supposed to say no.
She's just got a whole new
No,
set of
it's a
hubcaps
mother.
for all
It is a mother. I know it's a mother, but I'm just afraid that,
Gotcha.
something's gonna happen. That's all.
Any other old or new business? Okay. We do have an item for board discussion. New Jersey School Boards had sent out, I'm sure everybody got that email, and I asked Patrick to actually make sure that we had the attachment as well. There's a resolution the New Jersey School Boards has put out about pensions. I don't know if we wanted to adopt this. It was brought up at the county meeting as well. And as one of the questions that Claudia asked before is, do we have to take it word for word? No, because I know a couple people during the president's meeting I was at talked about that they wanted to change the wording because it didn't quite fit for what they had. So I definitely wanted to bring this up. It doesn't mean we have to have a vote on it now. I just thought it should be something that should be discussed. So, anybody have any opinions on that? Or,
Well, I found it interesting the other night at the association meeting, the representative who came to speak, the assemblyman, how he thought he was going to solve the problem if we followed his bill. That's the one I told you to write down because I found it so humorous. But I do feel that moving forward, we have to adopt something. I think most schools do because it should reflect the fact that if this pension reform does go into place, the burden is going to be on us as a school district. And that's a very frightening thing. We barely make the 2% cap now to keep the programs that we have and to keep the staff that we have and to keep the building heated and all. So this is going to be a major problem for us moving forward if this gets any further down the line.
It's gonna have one or two effects.
Right.
It's either going to be part of the cap or not part of the cap. But the bottom line is that the taxes will support.
I was just gonna say,
The taxes will go through the roof.
Exactly, it's taxpayers. I mean, never mind the 2% cap, because they're gonna have to give us a higher cap.
Right.
They are, but, I mean,
Either
if
that
they
or they
didn't,
make an
schools would have to
exception to the
close. You'd have to close your doors, you wouldn't be able to provide, heat to the building.
Exactly.
But
One
I
way or
do
the
think
other,
it's right, I do think it's something that we have to talk a lot about. And maybe not take word for word what is written there.
I agree. I just, the reason I asked, because again, we all get emails from school boards and all too, and that sample resolution was in there. I just felt it was important to have it in there, at least as a basis. So, I guess, on my own personal note, I agree with you, Claudia, we need to do something with it. But maybe it's something that, at our next meeting, we can all look into a little bit more, and kind of decide what we might want to do with some of the wording, if at all, but I do think we need to do something. That's just, again, a personal opinion.
If I could ask just a clarification question. Embedded in this resolution is a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
if you will. Forgive me for being using that vernacular with it. But I think one of the most pressing concerns for you as a board is what your obligation is. So I'm asking, if we were to massage the wording, what's more important to you? The whole thing? Just the pension portion? The health benefits portion, or, just the massage of all of the language, et cetera? Because embedded in here is the health benefits stuff. What they're talking about is modifying the current law so that it's a permanent contribution as opposed to something that is negotiated. Whereas the boards have it now. You have to negotiate it away. It's not something that automatically goes back. But clearly, if they change the pension and they make that an obligation of the local boards, there's a pretty substantial financial obligation that's associated with that. So what's your real objection, is the question? Is your objection to the pension piece, your objection to the health benefits piece, or is it everything all together?
For me, it's the pension, they're putting it in on our laps.
I agree with that,
Yeah.
the pension.
Because if that's
I'm
the
all
case,
for
we can
people having
massage some
pension,
of this.
but
Present
Right,
you with
no, it
a
coming
more
back,
condensed
right.
resolution.
Right.
We
I
could,
think right now, for us, the pressing issue is really the pension, not so much.
I believe so
I mean,
as
we
well.
just completed negotiations,
Right.
so we're in a safe position right now, but
because we can massage this resolution down to focus on that issue alone. It would make it a lot smaller, but shorter. It wouldn't confuse all the other issues in one spot. If that's what you want, we can do that and present it to you next time, so that you have it, instead of trying to.
Is everybody kind of amenable to that? Because this way we could actually have,
And then you're massaging a smaller piece as
Right,
opposed to this
exactly,
big
yeah.
wordy thing.
sure,
Okay,
I don't like
we'll do that.
okay. Any other old or new business then?
Yeah, just,
Oh, no, okay.
I just want to let everybody know that the annual Friends of Riverdale Golf Outing is slated for Monday, June 22nd. And the goal, there are two goals really. One is to raise money for a new sound system for the high school. And the second goal is to put up lights on the walkway leading down to the field. So,
Stand up like
Joy.
light post type of?
yeah, the short ones.
No,
The
the
shorter
like you'd have
one,
like
yeah.
in a garden, right?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
courtesy lighting.
Okay. Okay. Because it does get dark down there when the lights go off.
Yeah, you can't see,
It's really.
except for the
dark,
light that's, positioned down, so.
so- Okay.
Plus the
Actually-
scholarships that we give.
Actually, Tom, speaking of that, I've heard there's, kind of have some knowledge of the fact that the lighting down at the stadium field has had some issues. Has that been resolved?
It's been temporarily resolved, it'll be permanently resolved when we're off next week.
When we're off next week, okay.
We have that extended warranty.
It's more the getting the electric to the panels, it's not the physical lights itself.
Oh, okay.
Got to talk to PSE&G. All right, anything else before public comments?
I just have a question for Tom.
Sure.
Or it might be more of a Dennis question, or, and it goes both ways, like when we go to somebody else's field. Like, when people come here, in a bus, or, I'm not talking about the idling issue, which we could go round and round about. Some are great, some are not. Like, what's the parking directive? Like, is there none? Like, park wherever you may? I mean, because I've seen buses take up, like, like they go sideways and they're taking up, great spots in the upper part. I've seen other buses, go a little bit more out of the way. They don't usually go down, by the athletic, because that's too difficult unless they're picking up. So, I mean, is there like,
Depending on the event. Dennis determines where these buses should be. Now, when he has an event and he gives the directive, sometimes it doesn't always been followed through. So, we do have a directive.
But that's really what I'm asking.
Yes.
That does occur.
Mhm. Okay, the bigger the event, the buses get on, let's say by the cafeteria on that side, behind there. Smaller the event, it works down a little bit
I was
longer.
gonna say, I've actually seen them make buses go park at the middle school as well
Yes.
for big events.
Mhm.
So,
But the bottom line is, yes, there is a directive.
Thank you.
okay, a follow-up then, how do we enforce it when it's not?
How do we enforce the no smoking? I mean, what kind of question is that?
We go down there? No. All right, anything else? Any public comments? And you know, you guys can too, you can either get headphones on, you're able to make comments if you'd like.
We have something that we'd like to bring up.
No, not you, Rob. No. Tease him, tease him, tease him. You didn't have any headphones, but thank you.
So this has been fun. No action like tonight or anything, but we're just we're looking at like Riverdale's Wikipedia website, and we're thinking that we should like update and modernize it. And we were like directly about with the distinguished graduates. So some examples of the distinguished graduates, and they're like all outside the auditorium. The first one was Robert S. Harrison. He went to like Cornell, Oxford, Yale, Rhodes Scholar. He's took part in the Clinton Global Initiative. Then another one is Peter J. I think Progetto. I hope I'm not like butchering his name. He earned a Purple Heart. And then there's also Joseph G. DiPiero, who got like a Tony Award.
And like Rob was saying, like all these
He's
people.
already been honored.
I know, but we're saying like we should try and
You
update.
want to put it on the side.
Oh,
They want
yeah.
to
Yeah.
add it, you want to add it to the profile. or is
Yeah,
that
to
what
try
you're
and like
saying?
build more like a resume for Riverdale.
Yeah.
Because they're all like on the wall, like outside the auditorium, but they're not, like Rob was saying, like on the Wikipedia page. And yeah, like also like their accomplishments, like a Rhodes Scholar and a Tony Award, like most colleges can't even claim to have someone. Like I think as a high school, it's very impressive. So I think it'd just be a great addition, just to like highlight like Riverdale's history and like the education that it's offered for like years. And also like another factor is maybe like parents like who are considering sending their kids to Riverdale. Like they're really gonna look at the Wikipedia page at some point. Or also like colleges who are researching the school, they'll probably like take a glance at some point. And just adds like a different dimension too.
Let me ask you this. I do know, but I don't know. Is Wikipedia, doesn't people, no, we don't necessarily control that, can other people add information there?
I think we
So-
can. I'm not sure like formally how to submit, but I think we can like try and get them to update it.
Okay.
And that's also why we wanted to bring it up, because we weren't sure what the procedure was. So like we weren't sure if like maybe you told them what to put on it or if it's up to just their author. So
Just because
we were just
Wikipedia, I
wondering.
thought it was
but-
just the public adding things and all too, and then somebody kind of goes and scrubs through some of it. And actually speaking, Mr. DiPietro, I know he has another show on Broadway now. It was just in the paper recently too, so.
And the last one was I think Memphis was the name of his musical.
And by the way, I'd like to add that we're looking for recommendations for distinguished graduates. So.
Which is also nice, speaking of, mentioning that is Ford, this is the distinguished graduate year. And then the following year, every other year is athletics or distinguished graduates, so this year's distinguished graduates. And you can, submit to Ford,
To Cindy
Okay.
Sherlock.
so that's important.
I wrote it down.
No.
That's
You
you.
know what?
You know that
Oh
one
my
right now.
gosh. And can I add just one more little thing, just because I thought about it, I forgot my president's report and all too.
He dissed me. He dissed me.
I just, one other thing I want is, is actually, I had the opportunity, call out the RDTV too, so I got interviewed the other day about what the board does, so just thought I'd mention that,
Oh, Lord.
yeah. Oh, Lord. No, just basically simple questions all too, so, that was, because it'll be an RD in 3.
Strangely, I was excluded from that interview, wasn't I?
Yeah, we chose not to
Got-
include you
got it.
because they said you didn't know what the board did.
Got it.
One other thing.
So,
what reminded me, because it was in our newsletter, or our superintendent's newsletter, and I just wanted to say that I, as a resident, forget a board member, I mean, I know what goes on, but as a resident, I appreciate that we still get mail that's going on in the school, because there are many of our residents who either won't go on our website, don't go on our website, there's plenty of people in town who still don't have, who are older, and maybe that's not the way they get their news and information. And so I know some school boards have decided do theirs more electronically and don't do the mailing. And while it does have a cost associated with it, I think it's a way, the benefit outweighs the cost, for sure, that all our residents receive that information and have an opportunity to engage 3-4 times a year with what's going on. So, thank you for still doing it.
Can I just say one other thing? The play this weekend was fabulous too, and I didn't see it anyway. But part of what makes a play, of course, are the actors, the directors, and, the whole cast and crew. But it was very nice to see so much of our staff there helping to work the event. Lisa was there, everybody pitched in and worked the whole entire weekend, which was really nice to see. It shows that they truly, the faculty, the employees here truly believe in our children and what the gifts that they're given to do and entertain everybody. So it was really nice to see everybody there. So thank you.
Live music.
Yeah, it was really good.
The
best fun.
Just one more thing, it's just I heard people say too that, wow, for what, $15 was better than most stuff they'd seen on Broadway, so it was, that was awesome, so. With that again, any public comments?
Oh, tomorrow night is middle school play.
Middle school play, yes.
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Which,
So
you know what, which
everybody's coming
my
out.
kids in middle school said it was, Fiddler on the Roof Junior and all, I said it'd actually be Fiddler on the porch, because they can't get on the roof, but it's, what's the name of the play?
What's the name of the play?
The musical, I'm sorry.
Is it a
No,
musical?
it's not a musical.
It's a
Is it
play.
musical?
Hold on, we'll get it.
Off the top of my
The
head.
drama production of Camp Paradise, 7 p.m. Come for a fun night and support our students.
Sounds like a reality TV show.
Yeah.
It really does. It kind of scared me a little bit, Camp Paradise. At first I was thinking, when I saw it, I thought I read Camp Rock, and it was a musical, and then it's a Camp Paradise, and,
Was last year High School Confidential, was that last year? Oh, so maybe it's on a similar vein, but,
Well, it is a drama, which, we know in middle school there can be lots of drama, but this will be a play. So, again, so then before we adjourn, is we will be going into an executive session afterwards, of which no decisions, when we come out, there will be no decisions made at that, but can I get a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.